As the world crumbles, the windows shatter and the globe turns, QTVNickBro from his nuclear bunker in Kiev talks with his guest of the day. I'm Vitalia and here's QTV.
Thank you, Vitalia. And did you notice that Vitalia always in the beginning says the same line? Never mind. I'm Gremtuz. I replaced QTV only for this episode because he got biological problems. I mean, sick with the flu. He, however, still here with us, recording the audio. Say hi.
Hi.
And if you somehow enjoy this episode with my participation, then leave a comment that you want more episodes with me. And also like and subscribe. Or don't. This is not my channel, I don't care. And now the backstory of the guest. So occasionally on the social media network called Reddit, they have a big white canvas called AirPlace, where any Reddit user can place a pixel every 5 or so minutes. I don't remember the time, but they usually do it around April Fools. Although recently they did one in mid-July, so only the universe know when it's going to appear next. So as you might imagine, with how many users Reddit has, there will be all sorts of stuff on this large canvas. A lot of different communities got their share of the pie in the big white void. And many of those were country flags, and of course one of such flags will be of Ukraine. As the 2022 Airplace event was the first to feature a large Ukrainian flag on the top left of the canvas. The 2023 edition would feature it as well during the 2022 event, a community revolving around maintaining the flag as well as drawing other pieces of pixel art on it, was format called Place Ukraine. Most of the activity was centered around their Reddit and their Discord server, where they have community managers who help deal with the community by doing announcement, votes, server management, moderation, and other work. And today we have one of the most prominent ones from there. Please welcome today's guest, TheNomad. Say hi.
Hello. Hi, I'm the Nomad.
Tell about yourself.
I am American. I was born in Philadelphia, and been here for my entire life. But I've been very prominent in online communities, and yeah.
How did you first find out about Ukraine?
So I was unfamiliar with Ukraine's history until the invasion of Crimea in 2014. And then that kind of became more public conscious. And then, of course, when the war broke out, that's when it really became front and center for everybody. And that's when I really learned about what was going on. And I just I've been supporting as much as I possibly could. I'm very firm believer in democratic rights, so obviously want to support Ukraine as much as I possibly can, all the way over here on the other side of the pond.
Did you take part in the 2017 edition of r/place?
No, I did not take part in 2017. At the time, I believe I was in college, and I wasn't really aware of Reddit all too much. I knew it existed. I wasn't really part of Reddit communities. But after a couple years, I saw what had happened. I was like, oh, that's cool. I wish I could have been part of that.
How did you, how did r/place Ukraine begin? Whose idea was it?
So when I joined our place 2022, it was a case where I kind of hopped on, and I just started placing pixels. I saw there was a massive Ukrainian flag spanning across the entire canvas. I'm like, that's cool. Let me, support that. Now, at this time, I was in other communities focused around helping Ukraine from abroad, including designing new communication systems to help in case of blackouts. And in case, at the time, one fear was Starlink pulling out of Ukraine. So I was helping individuals research new methods of decentralized communication. So I am an IT professional by trade. So I do service desk, IT support. That's what I primarily do. I work for a few MSPs out in this area, and we mostly just outsource IT. So, company calls into us, and we help them with whatever IT problem they have. I've worked very extensively in cybersecurity, which is how I got interested in some of the support for Ukraine. As I joined, I believe it's with the Internet Legion at the time. I'm not sure if they're still around, as I have not been able to dedicate time to it. But I offered my support to that section where we would counter misinformation campaigns, and we would educate people, as well as offer solutions for cybersecurity to anyone who needed it, and also as training for cybersecurity. As when you're at war, everything is under attack, including people's personal accounts. Specifically, I touched on this briefly earlier. What I helped work on was we were looking at a decentralized system. One of the primary issues that were happening at the time was the telecommunication systems and the TV signals the towers were being targeted by Russia. So we were trying to figure out a decentralized communication array where we would design these devices, hopefully that would cost about $10 to $15 a unit, that could just be dropped in the middle of a field, and you just drop a bunch of them like cluster munitions almost, and you spread them out over miles long distance, and they would interconnect each other to allow for essentially text messaging over a decentralized network. I'm not sure where that project went. I know I offered a lot of insight into how that could work, such as I helped outline the overall design and shape of the devices. Making sure that they have like a solar panel on two sides, so as long as it lands face up, it can charge from the sun, has enough battery for 24/7 operation, and has enough power from the solar panel to charge its battery and then operate normally, so be as efficient as possible. I'm not sure if that ever led anywhere, as Ukraine became more reliant on Starlink, which has been very useful. But yeah, that's how I started in my support as best I could.
It was very interesting.
Thank you. Decentralized stuff is something I've always been interested in. Now, whenever anyone says decentralized, a lot of people think cryptocurrency. I will say right now, I am not interested in that at all. That kind of stuff is not necessarily helpful, as most cryptocurrencies have been used for get-rich-quick schemes. But I've always been curious as to how we could use decentralized systems to create these independent communication networks, such as Mastodon, for example, where you have essentially Twitter, but completely independent and run by people with own little like Raspberry Pi devices. So that's where my interest came from, all that, and I was very happy I was able to provide my insight and knowledge to those systems. When I saw our place pop up, everyone was so focused on the war And then we started getting all these people saying, hey, who's in charge of this? Who's in charge of this? And all the moderators just agreed that they didn't want to waste time on place. They wanted to actually focus on the war and on Ukraine and on that content, because that was important since it was so fresh in everybody's minds, and it was only a couple months after the beginning of the war. So me being at my disposition, where I'm not really over there able to help in person, I figured, you know what, this place thing seems pretty straightforward to help. Let me see if I can find out who's in charge of it. And I went down a quick rabbit hole, found out that there was a Reddit community for our place, Ukraine, made a few months before place even announced that it was going to come back. But the owner of the subreddit was banned for some reason, and he was trying to get access to his account, and it was just absolute chaos. And I joined the Discord that they had set up. I just offered to help, and the chaos just ensued from there, and it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of stuff going on, and in the end, I somehow ended up as lead moderator of Place Ukraine, which I'm very humble about.
What were some of challenges you and your team have experienced?
So Place has some very unique and interesting challenges. I think one of the biggest ones is time. So Place is very limited on time. We don't know when it's going to end, and necessarily you never know when it's going to start. So all you know is when you are placing pixels, you have a limited amount of time before it is all over. Now, the other problem with time is that everybody has limited amounts of time. We cannot stay up 24/7. We are human beings and we need to sleep as much as it is inefficient to do so. So when you have to deal with all of that, it's difficult to coordinate when everyone needs to sleep at some point. In 2022, there was definitely some nights where we did not sleep. I pulled 2 straight all-nighters over the weekend, doing everything I can to help. What was insane was the amount of support for Ukraine that came from Place. We didn't have to worry about Russian flags, about Russian trolls, because every single time anything like that were to happen, the rest of the community would come in and support us. We referred to them as the hive mind, because there were so many people just trying to help. This ended up being somewhat detrimental, because whenever we tried to start new artwork on the canvas, it would often be presumed that it was some sort of invasion or some sort of troll, and the hive mind would overwrite it, even though we're trying to tell people, hey, don't color over this, we're trying to make art here. So trying to keep communication over, I want to say, in the Discord we had over 2,000 people, but actively helping us, I want to say we had over 6,000 to maybe 7,000 people helping Place Ukraine on the canvas, and it was wonderful chaos. We wanted to make sure that every single piece of art that we put on the canvas was a mural to Ukraine and Ukrainian culture. So we made sure that our Ukrainian community had majority say on what went on the canvas. Now, it's difficult to manage that because when you do a public poll, you can't just lock it down to obviously one country or something like that. It's public, so everyone gets to vote. And very quickly, our foreign members, such as myself and people from other countries, kind of outnumbered our Ukrainian members. So we made sure to bring on moderators that not only spoke Ukrainian, but also were Ukrainian, so that they could help distinguish, okay, what do we actually want on this? What should we use? What should we avoid? Et cetera, so that it could be Ukrainian focused. Obviously, I am not very well versed in the culture as much as I love Ukrainian culture, and I cannot wait to visit Ukraine one day. Um, I'm born and raised in the United States, and I learned so much from this experience that it was absolutely wonderful. So our process to solve our problems that we faced were we would vote for artwork that we wanted to see on the canvas. We would vote on its placement, and then we would vote on how exactly we want to do it. This is before we had auto placers. Our templates were mostly Excel sheets and just screenshots from Photoshop. And we just all coordinated. We had like 100 people in voice chats, and we just said, go, go, go. And we just pushed and we pushed and we pushed. We didn't have anyone who could write bots or code or anything like that. So it was just manual work. And we were constantly fighting against trolls. We were constantly fighting against the hive mind who were trying to keep our flag pristine. And it was just an absolute wild ride. I focused on the management side of things, on saying, all right, this is how we should send out notices, this is how we should communicate this is how we should do that, this is how we should handle diplomacy, and all of that. Because while our Ukrainian members were focused on one primary goal, a distraction from the conflict, to have a safe haven, because at the time, it was very difficult to escape from what was going on, especially if you lived in Ukraine. And we very firmly wanted placeukraine to be a safe haven where people could go and just be artistic, be creative, and have a distraction from what was going on. Not to ignore what was going on, but specifically to have that respite that we all need. Because that's healthy. It's healthy to take a break from stressful events whenever you can. And we were hoping to at least provide a place for that. So we focused on ensuring that we were having a positive community that was focused on support and was focused on focused on support and expression, so that we could make sure Ukraine was represented properly on the canvas. The last issue that we had, and this is actually one of the first ones, but it's just coming to my mind now, was the hive mind expanded the Ukrainian flag really, really quickly in the very beginning. If you look at time lapses, it literally spanned the entire width of the canvas. And what happened during that time was it was very patriotic. It was very beautiful. It was great that everyone wanted to help us do that. But in the process of expanding the flag to that size, artwork was destroyed. And that did not sit well with anybody in our community. So as soon as we were able to establish some form of border, we said that we would not steamroll, we would not attack, we would not expand our territory. We would keep what we were given, and we would be happy with it, because ultimately that's what we want. We just wanted our own space to do what we wanted with. We didn't want any more than what we had. So that established kind of our core value when it came to place. We wanted to make sure we worked to maintain our little section. We provided little safe havens for communities that may have gotten destroyed. A couple examples were a few countries had flags on place, but they were very small communities. And we had hearts in the Ukrainian flag. I think Georgia may have been one of them. Georgia had a very, very small community. And the only representation they had was one of the hearts behind the Miria, the plane, on the Ukrainian flag. And we were able to be a little safe haven for those countries that just weren't able to be represented on place, which was very nice. Felt good doing that.
What is your opinion on the recent drama around Reddit's API change?
So, me and the moderators of Place Ukraine actually had a lengthy discussion. We don't agree with the changes that were made. I have a very unique perspective because I come from an IT software engineering background. So I'm kind of in this place where I can understand why the change was made, but I entirely disagree with how it was changed. So, for those who may not be fully aware, Reddit changed their API so that you had to pay in order to access their API. And this was a boilerplate solution to a problem where AI was scraping Reddit for training data. Now, of course, no one on Reddit, said that their data could be used to train AI. And, well, the best way to protect against that was to charge for the API access. But because they didn't add exclusions for, say, third-party Reddit apps, such as an app that helps blind people browse Reddit, it completely cut off access to all these third-party apps, which was kind of abhorrent. I used Boost as my main Reddit app. I really like that. And there's so many other people that use these third-party apps that were just a good way to browse Reddit. And especially for people with disabilities, with blindness or stuff like that, it kind of made Reddit nearly impossible to browse, because as Reddit's design has become more modernized and more aesthetically pleasing, it makes navigation on things like people who are blind almost impossible, because what is natural for individuals to sight is completely unnatural to those without. So that's where third-party apps really, really strived. So when Place 2023 was announced, the moderators of Place Ukraine knew that this was a publicity stunt. And we all agreed that we did not agree with what was going on. We did not support the changes that were made. But we knew that no matter what we did, there would be a Ukrainian presence on the map. It would happen just like last year, where there would be a huge Ukrainian flag push by so many members of the Reddit community. And if we didn't do it, someone else was going to try and take charge and take lead on that project. And we figured, hey, as much as we don't support the Reddit API changes and we don't support what the CEO of Reddit has said or the actions that they took where they actually hijacked a few Reddit communities, we don't agree with that at all. But we need to make sure Ukraine's representation on Canvas is moderated and is taken care of. We are the custodians of that. So we took up the torch and we made sure the job was done correctly.
Which hobby do you have?
Which hobbies?
Yeah, which hobbies?
Sorry, can you say one more time?
Which hobbies do you have?
So, hobbies, correct?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. So I have a ton of hobbies. I love playing video games. I love tinkering with technology. I have a full-on server rack in my house because I love working on home lab equipment, running software, running custom containers. I am someone that doesn't like doing one thing for too long, so I'm always tinkering with something new. 3D printing has become one of my biggest passions of late, and I've been doing a lot of modeling and 3D printing, and that's really interested me as a whole, because I love working with my hands, I love creating things, and when I'm not helping other communities moderate or grow, that's kind of what I fall back to, just playing video games and 3D printing.
Understandable. And lastly, what social medias do you have? that we can put in video description?
So I'm on Twitter, or I guess now known as X, at Nomad's Galaxy is my handle. I don't really post too much on there, but I do share a lot. You can also find me, on Reddit every once in a while. I do share some things on placeukraine, and you can join our Discord through there. And I'm always there, always available to chat, and we have some fun there.
Well, alright, thank you very much for coming to our podcast. That was TheNomad from Airplace Ukraine, here on As the World Crumbles. Now on to extra dish, and on extra dish I'd like to relay a message from QTVNickBro. He wanted to say that he sorry for the delay in the Newgrounds release of the podcast episode. For the time being, it has been delayed until later, but he hopes to eventually release them on the site. And that's all. Sorry for my bad accent. That was Gremtuz. Adios.